Hello, Mrs. Froman's class's parents. It's kind of weird to start one of these videos without saying hello, my little peoples. But no, this video is just for parents. So thank you guys for watching, first of all. Secondly, I imagine you kind of know what's coming. If you got the packet and you're reading over the instruction part of it, you know that we're about to start the dreaded new math. Yep. And like you, I've seen all the memes. I've watched the joke videos. In fact, my favorite's the one where the teacher is teaching the kids multiplication and the parent goes and makes a cup of coffee. That's probably not a cup, a pot. An entire pot of coffee. That's probably my favorite one, if I'm honest. Maybe it's just because I love coffee. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background information, a little bit of information of why we're doing what we're doing. Believe me, I learned the exact same way that you guys did. I learned that you carry the one, you carry the two, you add straight down, and life was grand. It absolutely was. I also, if I'm honest though, can remember my teacher telling me, you just do, honey, you just do, when I try to figure out why we carried the one or why we carried the two. So it works, as I tell my students, no matter how you look at it. In math, there are more than one way to do things. And they work. They all work. Whether you draw pictures, use your fingers, use your head, do it in your mind, whatever, they all work. So they're all fine. But I wanted to show you guys this primarily because with all the stigmatism that's associated with new math and kind of all the negative feelings, I want to see if I can do something to help you guys to where it's not so confusing to you and therefore let you be able to help your students, because like it or hate it, this is the math that they're going to be working with for the rest of their school career. So we want to do all we can to be able to support them if at all possible. And part of that is knowing what we're doing. Because believe me, I have 3 kids of my own. And when your 10-year-old tells you, you don't know what you're doing, that's not right, you get a little defensive. You get a little where you're like, look here, bub. I've been doing math since literally before you were born. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm doing. So, believe me, I've been in your shoes. I understand. The biggest one I'll tackle, the biggest complaint that I hear from most parents is that there are so many steps. There are so many steps. Why do we have to teach so many steps when it's just easier to show this one step? Well, the thing that tends to happen with us old people, you're not as old as me, but with us older parents, is that we forget how hard things were for us when we were in elementary school. We forget all the steps that we had to take to be able to learn what we learned because we just do it automatically now. Like, for instance, this word here. I imagine none of you have a problem reading that word. None. And you can do it just like that. However, when you started, you first had to be taught that this guy says or sometimes a. He says all sorts of sounds. Then you had to learn he says k, then ah, and then We had to go through each one of these sounds first to teach you what they say. But then even after that, you weren't done. After that, you weren't done because reading is not just knowing the sounds. Then you had to learn how to either blend it together or chunk it together to where you could say accomplish. You had to chunk it together. Those are more steps that you can do. And then you had to practice it. You had to practice it for a long time to where instead of accomplishment, you were able to look at it and say accomplishment. Math is no different. Math is no different. To learn this word takes about 10 steps. We've all forgotten those steps. We've forgotten that we had to learn each one of those steps. So this math is the same. When we first start out, yes, I promise you, there are a lot of steps. And you're going to be like, why are we doing that? Yes, you absolutely will. But it is a process. We're just in first grade, we just set the foundation. That is our goal. At the end of a good normal year, I only have between 5 and 10 students that at the end of that year are like, I get this. I know what you're doing. I get this. Have about another 5 that are like, I think I'm kind of getting what you're feeling, but please, can you keep helping me? And then I have a few that still are like, I have no idea what you're doing. That's completely normal, and it's expected. This is first grade. We're just introducing it. So trust me, they'll build upon this in second grade. They'll even continue to do it in third grade. So we're just introducing, but I'm going to show you kind of what it is so that you guys can help your kiddos when they need some help. From the beginning of the year, we have been teaching these kiddos that in the number 47, there are 4 10s and 7 1s. We started out with picking a number, and they had to count by big 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40. Your kids will even do that. If you're like, and then when they got to the 41, 42, 43, there are big numbers and the little numbers. So from the beginning of the year, we've been working on that so that way this becomes easier. We've also worked on the fact that when you have an equation, it means that two numbers have to work together. They have to be partners. They have to work together to form a new number. So what we do with this, what we'll eventually get to, is you will have, say, this number. And yes, a great way that I do this for the kiddos so that it's visual. We're just giving them a visual right now so that they can hopefully start to do it in their mind. So that eventually they don't have to do this process at all. And that's when they start to beat mom and dad. Because we still tend to write it out. And if we've got it figured out in our minds, that's awesome. But otherwise, we tend to still fill it out and write it, and they've already got it answered. So, and trust me, I even usually have some first graders that can usually beat their parents. Proven it, actually, that they can beat their parents in doing double-digit addition. So, but this is just to help them get a visual of what they're picturing in their mind. So I usually do a color for my 10s and a color for my 1s. And then if we have, okay, we teach the kiddos that we start with the little guys, start with those little ones, and we're going to add this, the 6 and the 5. That's why this fluency is also very important. Because kiddos that tend to struggle with this, it usually is because they're still struggling with the fluency, and it just adds one more step, and it's just one too many. So that's, the more they can practice that fluency, oh, that would just be awesome. So, but then they would write that down. The 11 is how many 1s we have. And then how many 10s do we have? We have 4, 5, 6. And then we always tell the kids 6 10s is what? Means you had to count by 10 6 times. And usually the kiddos will get that. They'll be like, it's 60. So we write that here, and then we let them be able to finish solving it out. 1 and 7 is 71. Now, yes, like I said, I totally hear you. You're like, you're doing 2 separate equations. That is longer. That's an extra added step. You're absolutely right. It is. But what we're doing, this is purely just so that the students can start to see that in their head, so that they have a visual. We're all very much at this age of visual learners, and we need to be able to see it to be able to really grasp it. So eventually the kiddos won't. They'll be like 6 and 5 is 11, so that's 1 1 and 1 10, and I have 6 10s, so 7 10s and 1, that's 71. They'll do it in their head like that. Okay, we just gotta, you gotta trust. You gotta trust, and I know it's hard. I know it is hard when it is completely different than the way that we learned how to do it. Okay, so this is basically it in a nutshell. You will write to help your kiddos. One, and like I said, I cannot stress enough how if they're struggling, 2 separate colors can help. Once again, it's all about that visual. So if we have 38, and we're going to add that to 26. They're going to add this together. They're going to say 8 and 6 is 14. Then they have 3, 4, 5. You're going to get this quite a bit with your kiddos. They're going to want to go 3, 4, 5 for some of them because they're not quite grasping that this is 10s. So if you're helping them out, say you have 3 10s plus 2 10s, how many 10s do you have? And 5 10s means how many do you have? 50. You'll notice that is the biggest mistake that kiddos make when they're first learning how to do this. Then you add those. 4 plus 0 is 4. 1 plus 5 is 6 equals 64. Okay, so this is a process of what we're going to be teaching them. And honest to goodness, I will tell you and I will let you know that if the kiddos continue to struggle with this process, we're not going to let them founder. We're not going to make it to where they cannot do addition and stuff. We absolutely will be able to show them the idea of how you can carry the 1. But just like our word with accomplishment, if we can get kiddos to be able to read it like that rather than sounding it out every time, we want to be able to give them the fastest, most direct route to be able to get their answers. So that's why we're showing this. That's why we're teaching this, is so that they can hopefully start to do that mental math. More steps, totally different than the way that we learned, But I promise, guys, I promise that if it works for your kiddos and if when they get it, you'll know they get it. And you'll be kind of impressed with how well they do it. So please don't ever hesitate to give me an email, a call, or ask for a specific, say, mine, I cannot, they will not listen on number 13. Will you please make a video and show them? Absolutely, absolutely. I've even had one parent that sent me an email and said, we've been arguing for 5 minutes. I think the answer is this. He thinks the answer is this. I hate to say it, but the student was actually right in this situation but they do know kind of the way that we do things in the school. And it is way different sometimes than the way that parents do it. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me and ask me for some verification, guys, or some help to be able to do it. We had to learn this too. The teachers that are here had to learn this process as well, just like you guys did, okay? So don't hesitate to ask questions. You are not asking how to do math or addition. We all know you know how to do it. You're asking how to do new math. So any questions, let me know, guys. Otherwise, thank you for helping your kiddos. I know this is not easy. I know this is not easy. Thank you very much for being that adult and being that one that is there working and doing this as well. It's awesome, guys. Thank you. I miss your kiddos. Keep in touch. We'll talk to you later. Bye.